Welcome to Can't Recommend Enough. Today's guest is a long-haul trucker and a longtime friend of mine. His name is Mike DiCarlo, and he's also the man that introduced me to intermittent fasting. And this is something that changed both of our lives for the better. I mean, seriously, that's why we're having this whole conversation. And we're going to get really deep into it and how we got turned on to it, and also what we did, our whole process, foods that we ate, resources, all that good stuff. So sit back, relax, enjoy. If you've ever wanted to know about intermittent fasting, I think this is a great episode. This is some real life experience here. Enjoy. You are the guy who turned me onto it because you did something crazy. Like, it just blew my mind what you were doing. So that led down this whole path for me once I started looking into it. So why don't you talk about what you did? We're talking about kind of intermittent fasting as a whole, but you did something nuts, and then that kind of brought you into it.
Yeah, friend of mine, a guy named Josh that I know from Virginia. He's the guy I bought my house from. He's the one who talked me into it. I fasted for an entire week. I had nothing but water and coffee.
So 7 days.
For a week. 7 full days. That's right.
What brought you to doing that 7-day water coffee fast?
Well, Josh and I at the time both needed to lose weight. And this guy Josh was on a health kick. And he was really into intermittent fasting. And when we talk about intermittent fasting, we're talking about time-restricted eating, not eating before a certain time, which for me is 10 a.m. or 11 a.m., and not eating after a certain time, 5 or 6 p.m., 7 p.m. at the latest, so that you're going anywhere from 14 to 18 hours without any calorie intake, just drinking water, and other non-caloric beverages, stuff like that. And Josh, he just talked me into it. He said, he's like, just do it. Just do it. You can do it. You'll lose a lot of weight. And I wound up doing it. What a lot of people do before to prepare for this fast is that a lot of people will eat a high-fat diet and they'll transition onto a low-carb diet first, so that their body kind of gets used to burning dietary fat and body fat for energy. In fact, it takes about 3 weeks of eating an Atkins style diet, eating a lot of fat, things like healthy fats like fish, avocados, the saturated fat from a ribeye steak, cottage cheese, and things like that.
And you're talking about building up for the actual multi-day fast.
Right. Now, I didn't do that. I just
went cold?
Winged it. I just went cold. I just did it. I think before that, now that I think about it, I had fasted for 3 days. And then I had nothing but water and coffee for 3 days. And then I had a meal, or I ate one day, had at least one meal. And then I went an entire week. And I'll be honest with you, it was horrible. It was really hard. It was hard, but I got through it. And once I started doing it, I realized that, I'm past the point of no return. If I stop and, get some chicken fingers, or if I break my fast right now, then what's going to happen is that, that food that I eat is just going to sit on me, because I think on the 3rd day, that's when digestion has pretty much shut down. That's when your digestion slows to a crawl, if not completely stopped altogether. So, on day 3, I was like, well, this is it. I'm going to 7 days. I can't stop now. And I went the full 7 days. And on the 7th day, I ate an apple, or I used an apple. You got to eat soft foods like that, like bone broth, or eating fruit, apples, bananas, things like that. Something that's really easy to digest, so that you can get it started again. But it was, I think, one of the healthiest things that I've ever done, because I lost a little bit of weight.
How much
if
did
you
you
don't
lose?
eat for a week, well, I think I'd lost probably about 5 pounds. At that time, my weight was about 221 pounds, and I lost about 5 pounds. And most of it was probably water weight. Some of it was probably calories,
And
just body.
this is just no exercise, just straight fasting.
Just straight fasting. And that's really what you should do if you're going to fast like that. Is you should just take it easy, or you should really limit your physical activity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would
Yeah,
imagine
that's what I
because
did. Yeah.
burning all those calories that you're not bringing in is just, it's going to zap you.
Yeah, yeah, it does. And it's actually kind of a funny story about that, because on the fourth day, it takes about on the fourth day for men, that's when you are burning 100% body fat, because up until that point, you've got glycogen or sugar stored on board. You've got some glycogen stored in your liver. You've got some in your muscles. You got some in your bloodstream. There's some glycogen hanging around for immediate energy, and that's what your body burns on day 1, 2, and 3. You might be burning on day 3 like maybe 75% body fat and 25% glycogen. But on the fourth day, that's when you're completely out. That's when the gas tank is empty and your body is like, all right, we're not getting any food. We're out of glycogen. We're going to have to start burning body fat. And you get what's called the keto flu. You have flu-like symptoms,
So is that
where
what
you
you
get,
experienced?
yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I did.
talk about that a little bit. Like 7 days. I mean, when you told me that you did a 7-day fast, I was just like, that's nuts, man. I can't even imagine not eating for a day, let alone 3 to 7 days. So,
Yeah.
what was your experience like doing this? I mean, how did you feel? What were you thinking? Did you get any kind of mental fog? What happened to you?
I did. The mental fog was the worst on the fourth day. And I actually lucked out with that, because I remember I was just driving my truck along on some random highway somewhere. Okay, this is day 3 of my fast. I've been driving my tractor trailer for 3 days. I've had water, coffee. I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. I'm hungry. My body's not used to this. And the first couple of days of a fast like that, that's when hunger is most intense. That's when it's at its worst, but that all goes away. On the 5th and 6th day, my hunger levels, it kind of leveled off. I wasn't really hungry. But on the third day, I was driving around somewhere, and the 2 back bolts that support my seat in my truck, they just broke randomly. And I was just driving along somewhere, and then out of nowhere, I feel something break, and my driver's seat tilts back about 2 inches, and it falls against the cabinet that was behind it. Okay. It
Wow,
falls
that's
against the cabinet
sketchy.
behind. Yeah, while I was driving, that was really sketchy. I didn't like that at all. But in the end, it worked out for me, because I called the company. They have me put my truck in the shop, and they're like, all right, well, they can't get to it until tomorrow. So we're going to have to put you up in a hotel. So day 3, I go check my truck into the shop, and then I go get a hotel. So on day 4, when this keto flu kicked in, I was actually in a hotel. I wasn't out driving.
You know, what's funny is
That
I don't think you told me about that either because we talk all the time, and that was one of the things is when you told me you were doing or that you did a 7-day fast while truck driving. I'm like, that's nuts because you need the energy to stay awake, to keep focused, to do those runs and everything. Like this is insane. So I never heard that part of the story, but that's got to present like you're in a hotel, so you're not on the road. On the road at least you don't have any kind of, unless you go to a truck stop, any kind of things tempting you. But you're in a hotel. You got a snack machine over there. You
right.
have the chance to slip a lot easier. What did you
Hmm.
do?
Well, I remember being in the hotel, and there was a Papa John's that was right there. And I remember staring at it, thinking to myself, I could just walk right over there and get a pizza right now. And I was like, nope, we're not doing that. No, I just said no. I just kept saying
Good
no.
man.
And yeah, and I remember leaving the hotel, and there was a Walmart right next door. I walked over to the Walmart. I just, I was so foggy and hazy. I had a headache. My energy levels were crashing on the fourth day. But that is all normal. That's all part of it, because what's going on is at that point, like I said before, your body is completely out of glucose. My body was totally out of sugar. And it's like, my body's like, all right, we're going to have to start burning body fat for energy. So what was going on is my body went into my DNA to look up the instructions on how to make the enzymes so that we can burn body fat for energy. Body fat is a suitable source of energy for any bodily function, for brain functioning, for energy, for sprinting, for, your heart and your muscles, all of your organs, everything in your body can run on body fat. And that's what it was doing. It's like, all right, we've never done this before, but the instructions are written in here somewhere. So
Let's blow the dust off of the cover to this manual.
Right. Let's blow the dust off the cover to this manual. Right. I like the way you said that, because that's exactly what was going on. I mean, the body prefers to burn sugar, and dietary calories over body fat, because it doesn't want to lose the body fat. The body does not know that there is food all around you, everywhere, all the time. We are like an outdated model. We have to store body fat so that just in case food becomes scarce for, a week or two, that we can survive.
Yep.
And and so
your brain never got that message, or
no,
your body rather.
Right. The body doesn't get that message. And,
It's a
everything
good
was just
thing,
going
though.
haywire. It was a good thing. It was a good thing. I think that's what Dr. Rhonda Patrick, that nutritional expert, that's what she calls hormesis, which is when a little bit of bad, a little bit of stress, a little bit of bad, that's a good thing, because it's pressure. It forces your body to do something it hasn't done before. We are outdated models. Our DNA and our bodies are not designed for the modern world. We're not designed for all this sitting, for all these carbs, for all this other food that we find. It's so we're just, but we know how to do it. We are omnivores. We eat what's around us.
I would have to agree with you there, but I would have to say that it's probably better that way, that our bodies haven't adapted to a sedimentary lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
and can just process, because it makes us work harder to be where we should be, to take care of ourselves. Because if we didn't
Right.
have to, we probably wouldn't, you know,
No,
it wouldn't make
I would
sense.
have to agree with you on that one. Like if we were built to run on pizza, and burgers and stuff like that, then like everybody would look like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but it ain't gonna happen that way. But so that's what happened on the fourth day. That's when all of this just hit me the hardest, was when, on the fourth day, when my body is just like, it's going nuts. The whole system's going haywire, because it's like, we've never done this before. We don't have the proteins and enzymes that we need to burn body fat. So we're going to go into this guy's DNA. We're going to look up the instructions, knock the dust off that manual, and we're going to start making them. And that's exactly, what happened. And when that happens, when you're fasting and you're burning body fat for energy, you can lose anywhere from a half a pound up to a pound a day. You're losing weight at really an accelerated rate. Because obviously, if you don't eat anything, then you're gonna lose weight. And
Right.
it lasted 7 days. I think I was going for 10. I was going for 10.
I think you said that you were.
Yeah, I was going for 10, but I think when I got to 7 days, I was like, all right, you know what? I've had enough. I don't think I need to go the extra mile here. I've already gone 7 days without food. But,
So wait, let's kind of rewind a bit.
okay.
You said that Josh turned you on to this,
Mm-hmm.
your roommate, Josh. Why did you choose to go 7 days? Like, is that what he told you to do? Or did you just, through your own research, like you heard him, he recommended it to you and he's like, hey, you should check this out. And you're like, okay. And then you looked into it and you're like, well, there's a couple different ways to do it. Or did he say specifically, hey, 7 to 10 days? And you just said, all right, let's do it.
I think that, man, it's been so long. It's been like 4 or 5 years. I remember him talking about it. And I remember him saying that, it'll make you healthier. it can kind of fix some of the things that's going on, in your body right now, because I was obese and I had systemic inflammation. You know what I'm talking about when I say inflammation? Like, how alcoholics, their faces look really puffy.
Yeah.
Because of water retention. Right. That's inflammation. And I had that. And, and I was just fat and sick. And I had done a 3-day fast leading up to that. I'd done a 3-day fast, and I think he was just like, he's like, hey, why don't you go for 7 days? Why don't you just do it? You'll feel a lot better when it's over with. And I think that at first I balked at the idea of going a week without eating. I was thinking about 3 days. I was going to do another 3 days, but once 3 days hit, I was just doing so well. I was, and Josh was encouraging me the whole way. I was out driving a truck and he was at home and he was texting me, like, how's your fast going? He was encouraging me. How's your fast going? How's everything going for you? How do you feel? What's going on? What's the deal? And, so I had some encouragement with that.
That's good. You need a good support system.
Yeah. And I did. That's what I had. And, he was encouraging me to just don't stop at the truck stop and grub out on some food. Don't do that because, at this point, after 3 days, your digestion is, like if you do that, if you go a couple days without eating and then you eat some junk food or, you eat something really heavy, you're going to regret it because, it's going to sit on you. It's going to sit on you. It's not like your body's just going to devour it. I mean, unless maybe if you've been active, if you're up and you're looking around for food and you're moving, and you're kind of working up an appetite over that 3 days, then yeah, I think that, a person that food would be easily digested, but that wasn't the case with me because I'm sitting behind the wheel of a truck.
Talk about the truck driving life. I mean, this was an important step to make because from what you tell me, there's just no opportunity for good, rigorous exercises and healthy eating on the road.
There really isn't. I mean, it can be done, but it's difficult. You're constantly putting in effort. First 3 days of this 7-day fast. Okay, I'm driving along and, and I'm really focused on this, like things in my body are going haywire because I'm not getting food, but I knew that was all normal. I'm going to get through this. And so day 1, 2, and 3, I'm driving down the highway, right? And it was when I really noticed how much temptation there is, about how food is just everywhere all around you.
Are you seeing billboards and stuff like that?
Yeah. Like you're driving down the highway, you see a billboard with a big cheeseburger and fries and a milkshake.
Next stop.
And it's like right, Hardee's next stop. And it's like, and I remember seeing one, a big cheeseburger and it says, "Come on, eat like you mean it." And I remember thinking to myself, I was like, okay, well, what does that mean? What is all right, eat like I mean it. Okay, right, whatever you say, billboard. So you drive down the road and you see billboards. You drive down the highway and you can smell it. You drive down the highway and you see giant signs that are raised up above the trees so they're visible from the highway. For McDonald's, you see the McDonald's logo, you see the Burger King logo, you see the Wendy's logo, so it's like everywhere you look, somebody is tempting you with food. When you pull into a truck stop, and I usually stop, at least once a day to buy fuel, once a day, once every other day. When you stop, you pull up to the pump, and what do they have to eat at truck stops? They got Wendy's, McDonald's, Burger King, Subway. That's the kind of stuff they had. You could smell it. And, you're standing there at the pump putting diesel in your tanks, and there's a big 5-foot billboard with a burger on it, that's tempting you with food. It's like I can't put it out of my mind. It's
Not to mention all the snacks in there, that you can just sit next to you and munch on while you're driving.
Right. When you go inside, as soon as you walk in, there's food everywhere. There's chips, and sodas and hot dogs and corn dogs and triple bacon cheeseburgers, and they got French fries and potato wedges, and they have macaroni and cheese, right up there next to the register, so that when you go up to buy something or you go up to pay for something, there's food right there. That's another temptation, that I can add to the list. And of course, it's hot and it smells good, and so it's always right there. I think one day in one of those days I counted, I was tempted with food at least 18 times, just by seeing billboards, seeing advertisements, like when I play a song on YouTube, I was like, okay, I'm going to listen to music, and I'm going to try to take my mind off food. And then of course, whenever I play a song on YouTube, I always got to listen to a commercial first. And it's a commercial for food, for Domino's Pizza, for McDonald's, for Wendy's,
Really?
for it's, yeah. Like when I'll pull up Master of Puppets or something like that, and I'll try to play that in my truck just to get my mind off of food. And, of course I could listen to the song, but now I got to listen to a 5-second commercial, and it's almost always food.
Wow.
Yeah. When I park at a truck stop at the end of the day and I go inside to take a shower, I go in, I get the shower, I close the door. And what do I see on the door? As soon as you close the door, there's big advertisement for the truck stops restaurant, Petro and Petro has a restaurant called the Iron Skillet, and Travel Centers of America has a restaurant called Country Cooking. And and
now hold on.
you close the door.
At the truck stops, when you go to shower and change everything, do they have any kind of workout areas? Do some of them have them?
Some of them do.
What is
some
that
of them
like?
do. It's mostly like it's like a janitor's closet or just some kind of storage closet that's been converted into an exercise space. It might have one of those big machines that you can do exercises on, like bicep curls. You can do chin ups and pull ups. You can do hanging knee raises and things like that. I don't know what they're called, but it's one of those stations where you
like
can
a
do like 15 different
multi-station.
Yeah, like a multi-station machine. But and it might have an exercise bike or a treadmill, and they always have a TV. And they might have a scale or one or two other things in there. But the problem with the exercise machine is that the attachments are almost always missing because people steal them. Yeah. I don't know
So
what
it
that's
was
about.
so you get there and you can't even do anything. And then you're constantly bombarded with advertisements. You're
For
sitting all
food. Right.
day. Yeah. So
Right.
it was imperative for you. And let's kind of go back in time a little bit, because I've known Mike for many, many years, since I think I was in 5th grade and you were in 4th grade. And you've
That's
always
right.
been a thin guy.
Yeah.
You're an ex-Marine. You got out of the Marines. I mean, I was there with you the day that you got out, probably the best
That's
shape of
right.
your life. And then in those years after the Marines, you got to a point, and then you said, so what was the catalyst for you, really? Like you said, you had some water retention, you realized you gained some weight. Was it like looking back on pictures? Was it like what really kind of said, that's it, I'm done. I gotta find a way to get rid of this?
I don't think I really reached a tipping point. If I had to point to one thing, it was the comments that people were making. Because, when you gain weight, people do make comments, about it. Some people will just outright call you fat, or, and it's like the way that they look at you. Um, I think I've been called like every name in the book. I'd been called chunky, I'd been called fat, I'd been called a couple of other things. I'd had people make rude comments to me,
Really?
about it. And yeah, I did. And I think that people would do it to me because like I had always been thin, and then I just let myself go and gained a lot of weight. And there's a lot of reasons why that happened. Some of the reasons why that happened is just poor diet. I mean, I was smoking a lot at the time, and I think I was out of touch with what my body was trying to tell me. I was just putting on weight and putting on weight and putting on weight because I was working for ADT, so I was always I was never brown bagging it. I was always grabbing subs and,
Mm-hmm.
grabbing, burgers and, just getting fast food, and the weight was going on, and I was slowly gaining weight little by little.
Yeah, when you smoke too,
Yeah.
you got to grub out and everything. It's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
snacks
When you
call.
smoke, yeah, yeah, I know, dude. It's just like anybody who has smoked knows that when you smoke, it's like, you know, dude, appetite on,
Yeah.
and it is. And so you're just naturally eating more than what you should. And then one day I'm just like, wow, I've got a big stomach, I'm fat and I'm sick. And I got to do something about this. So I don't think I really reached a tipping point. I just reached a point where when I got into truck driving, which was about May of 2015, I that was when I became a truck driver. I'd gotten through truck driving school. I'd gotten my first job, and I was so delighted because, of the money I was going to make. And one of the first things I wanted to do right off the bat, first order of business, is I'm going to get to the bottom of this. I used to be really skinny. I was really skinny when I got out of the Marine Corps, and over the years I just put on weight because I wasn't watching what I eat. I was smoking. I used to come down to Valentino's and get the gut bubbler. Remember that? That was like pasta
Mhm.
with that rosé sauce and blackened
Yep.
chicken, and I would eat so much.
And the garlic
Like I
bread.
would just, yeah, the garlic bread. I would eat until, there were some times when I just would, like, I was almost sick. I never did throw up from eating too much, but I'd gotten close to it a couple of times. And when I became a truck driver, I said, okay, first order of business is we're going to get to the bottom of this problem here, because, I've got back pain. I'm not comfortable with what I'm wearing. It's like, and I was self-conscious about it. I was. And
I feel
I
you.
was like, yeah, I got to do something about this. And I felt like there had to be an answer. Where there's a will, there's a way. And I knew nothing about losing weight. I didn't know anything about that. I mean, the only thing I really knew about it was that you're always going to lose weight if you're burning more calories than you're taking in. You know what I mean? Calories in,
Mhm.
calories out versus calories out. So I did know that. But that doesn't tell the whole story. Back when I was living in Lynchburg, when I was obese, this must have been from July of 2013 to about March or April of 2015. That's when I moved out of Lynchburg, and I moved to Roanoke, and that's when I became a truck driver. Went to truck driving school. When I was living in Lynchburg, I would go to Walmart and buy a box of pasta and look on the side, and it would say 41 grams of carbohydrates. That's 20% of, your daily value. So I thought I was doing a good thing by, eating a box of pasta. But little did I know that wasn't the case. You don't need
Yeah,
pasta to be healthy, right?
that
Yeah.
was my thing was, because I had always been big, and up until the recent couple years, pasta, like, pasta was the thing, and it's just so easy to cook. There's so many different ways you can do it. Pasta, rice, potatoes,
Yep.
and
Hmm.
we had a philosophy back in the day. We would just crush it, We like, "We'll crush you," so that was our thing.
Yeah.
It's like, we were always, we had something, it was awesome, you crushed it, you went to town. And I hear you with that, and the reason why I brought it up, like tipping points and everything, is because you told me about intermittent fasting. So I
Hmm.
knew you
Hmm.
had reached this point. You tried this wildly crazy thing. And we do a lot of recommendations to each other. We tell everybody about, we tell each other about all these things that we're finding out about and stuff. So something like that kind of, I don't know, it made me think. And it, I think it took me a little while to finally get into it. But
Hmm.
when I did, it was like that same thing. I'd reach a point. It's like yeah, you have to make a change, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and hearing you talk about it, and then actually doing the research, because I mean, what you told me, you kind of got a little scientific on it, and then you did your fast, and then you stuck with it. That was the cool thing, is
Mhm.
that you actually stuck with it. You know, I
Mhm.
I feel like a lot of people try fad diets or ideas, and then they just stop doing them. You know, they see a result, or they don't see a result and they stop, or they see a result, kind of get down where they should be, and then just kind of give up and then go back for whatever reason, you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
But you've been keeping up for all these years, since you started, and you said you're going about 18 hours, right?
Yeah, usually what I do now is I wake up in the morning, usually around 6:30, 7 o'clock. I just naturally wake up, and I might have some coffee at about 7 a.m. That kind of helps get me going in the morning. Truth be told, I don't really like to wake up and drive a couple hours without coffee.
Yeah.
But yeah, I eat my first meal at about 10 a.m., at least 10. And then that's when my feed window opens. Because, let's be a little specific here. When we talk about intermittent fasting, we're talking about time restricted eating. That's a little bit more specific, is not eating until a certain time and not eating after a certain time. So
Yes.
like what I've been doing lately is I've been making a smoothie at about 10 a.m., 10 or 11 a.m., make a smoothie, and then I cook a New York strip steak or a ribeye steak in my Foreman grill in my truck, and I eat those two together. And I usually take digestive enzymes too, because when you eat a big meal like that, and you're up and you're moving around and you're walking, that helps you digest all that food. But when you got to sit behind the wheel of a truck, you're not digesting it as well. So taking digestive enzymes with that kind of, helps to it helps. It helps to keep things moving. I try to avoid sandwiches because of the bread. Bread is just carbohydrates. You don't need that stuff. And when you sit as much as I do, any calories that you don't need are going to be stored as fat. I
Hmm.
mean, at least that's the way that I look at it. And when you eat a sandwich, you eat 2 pieces of bread every day. That's a whole loaf of dough that you're putting into your body, every week. And that's not to say that some types of bread don't have nutrition in them. It's just you don't need bread to be healthy. So I have a smoothie and a New York strip steak about 10 a.m. And, I'll have my coffee after that, sometimes before that, but uh, after 10 a.m., that's when because if I drink coffee on an empty stomach, makes me a little jittery, but so eating some food first and then drinking coffee really helps. And then, and then I'll eat again at 4 or 5 in the afternoon. I might
What do you eat
eat,
then?
well, sometimes I'll stop at a truck stop and I'll get some meat and vegetables. Certain truck stops like Petro and Travel Centers of America, that's a nationwide chain. So and they have the same menu nationwide. So I already know what they're going to have before I get there. And I'll get inside and maybe eat. I'll go to the buffet and maybe get some meat and some carrots and Brussels sprouts, and just eat a little bit of meat and some vegetables. And I eat until I'm full. I eat until I'm really not hungry until that next bite. I might take an extra few bites, after that, just to be on the safe side. But 4 or 5 p.m., that's when I stop eating, and I don't eat again until 10 a.m. the next day. For a lot of people, that sounds a little extreme, but is it really that hard? Just to eat a good meal at 5 p.m. and just be like, that's it. I'm going to wait until tomorrow. If I get hungry, I'm going to drink water.
Power through
You
it.
know, yeah, just power through it. Is it really that hard?
It's funny, and I can tell you from my experience. So I did think it was hard, and you probably did as well. Um, so I did 16:8 for the longest time. Now I'm like at 18, because I used to. My window was 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. So my cutoff was 9. Uh, start again at 1. Uh, and we couldn't be totally different on our approaches too, as far as food goes. So what I ate, so you, let me kind of take you back here. I was, I think, like 267. And that's the last time I weighed myself before I started uh, to lose weight. But I had probably at one point been over 270. But big all my life. But in the years leading up to finding intermittent fasting, I had gotten bigger after the kids were born because I was cooking these like, high calorie meals and stuff. And I've
Oh,
always,
yeah, I could
we've
imagine.
always crushed stuff and everything like that. But yeah, I really felt it. My tipping point was when my sister got married in 2018. Looking back at those pictures, I was just like, oh, dude, this is bad. And I think and I don't think I realized that at the time, but it's just like you said, that kind of puffy face. Like I really had that too.
Yeah.
So what you were saying was making a lot of sense. And my wife, we were looking into, losing weight, especially after the kids. Like she's like, we got to lose some weight. So we went to Planet Fitness. And I said, well, look, if we're going to do this, there's no point on just throwing away this membership, because that's something I've done. Like you get in this and you just don't do it. So I needed something else because just working out was going to be good, but I think I needed something else. And I was remembering what you said about the intermittent fasting. So I really started to um, just kind of analyze it. I went watched YouTube videos, read stuff online, and I came upon 1618 and I was like, that's nuts. But if you can do it for days, I could do it for that. I could at least try. So that's what I did. And now the food was, I talk about our differences in what we eat. So what I did is because I had to kind of get rid of a lot of the stuff that I liked. I was like, okay, what can I eat for lunch that's semi healthy? So I did wheat bread and I would use this brand called, I think it's Kipplinger's, and I still eat it every day, every day. So, two slices of wheat bread with peanut butter, and I use an all natural peanut butter. So it's just 100% peanuts, no sugar in there, no nothing else,
Good.
straight
Good.
peanut butter.
Good.
Um, and then honey. So peanut butter and honey on wheat, and then I would pair that with some Triscuits and water. So the biggest thing for me was I loved soda. Like Coke was the gift handed down from heaven. It was like the best drink. I just loved it. It was great. And me, I was like I loved Coke. So cutting out soda was one of the hardest things. So I drank a lot of soda and then also like energy drinks like Monsters and Red Bulls and stuff, which does not help. Sugar
No.
content's just nuts on those. Even on like a regular can of Coke, that's like your sugar intake for the day. I mean, it's nuts. And if you're drinking more than that, you're just putting so much in there. But anyway, so cutting that out, I had to go down to water. And I was like, how am I going to just drink water? Like water was just so bland and tasteless.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now looking back on it, I laugh because that's all I drink besides coffee. Um, and then that posed another problem is I love coffee. So I liked cream and sugar in my coffee. I'm like, I can't drink black coffee. I'm not a psychopath. Like, who drinks black coffee? Like, it's terrible and bitter. But I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
I got to get through it. Like, I have to do it because I want coffee. So I did it.
Right.
I choked it down. And now I look back and I laugh again because I love black coffee. Like, it's just, I can give me the strongest coffee you got. I'll drink it black and I'll love it. The only thing is like it's super hot when you get it. And, if you get it at like a coffee shop, you got to throw some ice in it or something just to kind of
Mhm.
cool it down a
Mhm.
little bit. But
Yeah.
I love it.
Right.
So anyway, at 1 o'clock, I'm eating the peanut butter and honey on wheat bread with some Triscuits. And I started real small with maybe like 6 Triscuits or something. What was like the minimum for the calorie count or something that they list on the nutrition label. Um, then for dinner, and this was a big one because we talk about crushing stuff. So it's like if I'm sat down to a meal and there's a good amount of it, you just kind of keep on eating because you're like, oh, it tastes so good. I'll just have a little bit more. So I needed something for portion control. So what I did was I bought frozen dinners like like the healthy choice and stuff like that. So I I picked the ones that I could handle. Um, I tried to keep the calories in there around 300 or less. So I think like 320 to 350 would be the tops, just so I didn't want to count calories, but I wanted to at least know that one of my meals, I knew exactly what I was getting. So that way I could say, hey, this is it, no more. Now I will tell you this with those meals, they are very bland. I like
Yeah.
flavor, you know? So I would have to go into the spice rack and, if it's like a pasta, I'm adding pepper, garlic, all types of stuff into it to get it to my taste level that I like. Um, so that it was a must for me, but it's good because it's not adding any extra calories or anything like that. But so that was one of the things I had to wrap my mind around that, and then I had to be done eating by 9 o'clock, which was hard too because I would be used to watching a movie after 9 o'clock, and you sit down with some chips or something, you snack while you're watching and stuff like that. So I had to cut that out. Now it wasn't just intermittent fasting. It was like also for me. So again, this is how we differ. So I did the intermittent fasting, but I also besides keeping the calorie intake low, I worked out and I did this vigor like I went full force into it. And this is something that I never done before. And I took a little bit of help. I went to Planet Fitness one morning, like when they had like a kind of open thing with a trainer, and they kind of give me like a rough layout of some exercises to do. So I went from that as a template, and then I built upon that, and really started getting into like learning really good exercises. So I was doing by the time I stopped going to Planet Fitness, I'd get there, treadmill, 10 minutes, and then I do weight exercises like weightlifting, and kind of break it up by days in targeted regions. And then I would always end with the elliptical. And the elliptical I thought was real fun. Like I think anybody who hates the treadmill, like I hate the treadmill, I hate running. I think the elliptical was really good, and I'd be on that for at least 25 to 30 minutes. So that was like
Good.
my good cardio. The treadmill was just kind of get my heart rate going so that when I went to lift weights that I was all ready and pumped. Um, so yeah, I highly recommend the elliptical for anybody that hates running. It's a good way and it's fun and you can really challenge yourself on it too.
Yeah.
So
Whatever works for you.
right?
Right.
And you know me, like I'm a stubborn person, but I stuck with it. So I went down from as I was dropping, and I realized that I was dropping like 20 pounds a month with intermittent fasting, with low calorie intake, and with working out. Like I was working out maybe 6 to 7 days a week, and I know it's tough, but I would do it for like 2 hours. It was nuts. I couldn't even believe I was doing it. But I set a goal, and I got um, this scale. It's called Renfo, and what was cool about it was Bluetooth because I was just looking on getting like a crappy scale, but I think all the ones that I were looking at would give you like really wrong readings. Like you'd step on them 3 separate times, and they give you different readings. So I wanted something that was as accurate as possible for cheap. So I found the Renfro scale, and what was cool is it had a Bluetooth function to it, so it would save all your kind of stats in your phone. So it would give you like BMI, give you your weight, it would give you muscle mass and all types of cool stuff. So I could actually keep track. And I looked at this thing as I was going down, and you could set your goal too. So I think I set my goal at 220 to start or something like that. So it's like if I hit 220, I'm good. I'm coming down from like 267. That sounds good. As I got closer to 220, I'm like, dude, I'm almost at 220. Let's keep going. And then I came down past 220. And I'm like, I'll go to 200. Man, I can't remember the last time I was under 200.
Yeah.
And then I crushed 200.
Yeah.
So I got down to 164. And this was in the span of this is August to what was it, like February or no, March of the next year. So 2019 or 2018 August to 2019 March, 164 down from 267. Just keeping it going. Um, then we moved and everything. Some things came up, so I couldn't go to the gym as much as I wanted to. Um, and then and now of course with quarantine and everything, you can't even go. I actually built something in my house the other day, but in all this time that I haven't gone to the gym, I've maintained intermittent fasting and I've kept my weight down because of that, but I've also built the healthy building blocks just like you, uh, for keeping that off. It's like I haven't gone back to soda. I don't snack constantly like I used to. So I think, once you build that habit, and intermittent fast is a great thing if you can continue to do it, even if you're not working out all the time, you're still going to see some good results. Like it's working in the background processing for you. And I got to
Right.
thank you for kind of turning me on to that.
I'm glad that I was able to turn you on to something that really works for you. I'm glad I was able to make a positive difference, in your life. That really makes me feel good. Intermittent fasting is something that a lot of the experts in the health field advocate. If you know who Jim Stoppani is, he's a fitness guru. He's one of the guys that you go to who, like if you need to go from like he's worked with a lot of famous celebrities. I've heard that he worked with Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre said, look, I'm in my 40s now. I need to, I built some muscle, but I need to go from 6% body fat down to 3. He's one of the people who can help you figure out how to do that. And his meal plans are, they're simple, they're easy to follow. And he writes workout programs. He gives the stuff away for free. He shows you how to tweak your meal plans.
He's
So it's like,
ripped
well,
too.
oh, he is, dude. He's like 50 years old. He has the body of an Adonis. And he even says that, um, you know, he has a cheat day. He'll eat a donut up to 3 days a week, with his coffee in the morning. If he stops at a restaurant on Saturday, he'll stop and he'll imbibe in some beer. He'll drink some beer. He'll eat a burger and fries. And he has like under 5% body fat. He is ripped. I mean, and
Mhm.
he not only is he ripped and muscular, he is shredded, and
He's
he
super
says
shredded.
super shredded. And he says that what really helps him manage his cheating, on his diet is intermittent fasting. He
Mhm.
says that is the number one thing. What the way that he does it is he works out in the morning and he'll start eating at 4 p.m. and then he eats, maybe every 2 hours up until midnight. And then he goes to sleep. And he knows what he's doing. That's really not practical for everybody, but that's just the way that he does it.
Yeah,
That's what works for him.
let's talk about cheat days a little bit because I know you have your cheat day. Mine, what I did was I didn't take a cheat day at first, and I think that's very important because I think it's a slippery slope. I think once you get into the habit, and they say it usually takes what, like 30 days to build a habit or so. Is it 30? Maybe a little longer.
Probably. Yeah.
Okay. So I think it's important to build your routine and your habit, and you need to get into it, and you need to have your mind made up that this is what you're going to do. And once you get in that routine, then you can do your cheat day or cheat
Hmm.
days. For me, I did like 2 cheat days. It was,
Right.
or actually I think I did 1 in the beginning, then I eventually did 2, but it was Tuesday and Sunday because those were the days that I was off of work. And I looked forward to those days. And on those days, I would go to, when I was living in Maryland, I would go, um, we love, so my dad is from Peru. Peruvian chicken, rotisserie, pollo a la brasa is the best. And I would look forward to that like every Tuesday. And I would go and get that, side of rice and fries, half chicken, amazing. Um, that was the big thing for me, and I think it feels really good when you look forward to something, and it's almost like, that
Yeah.
trophy, or that prize, like, I know if I stick with it all these days, I can have this one thing that I really love and be totally
Yeah.
satisfied with it, you
So
know?
you put it into perspective.
Yeah.
You put your cheating days into perspective. Right. I'm
Yeah.
glad you did that because, there's nothing wrong with cheating on your diet. Okay. But there's a time and a place for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And intermittent fasting is really a great way to regulate your metabolism in the long term. And it really kind of helps to mitigate the effect of cheating on your diet. When you do it once in a while, just like what Jim Stoppani says, it's the intermittent fasting that keeps him from gaining weight. Is that if he cheats on his diet, he's not going to eat too late. He's not, drinking and eating burgers at 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the
Yep.
morning, or 3 a.m. He does it at certain
Self-control.
times. He exercises self-control. And, going back to when I started my weight loss journey, I knew that there was going to be room for cheating in there, but there's a time and a place for everything. And intermittent fasting, just not eating before a certain time, not eating after a certain time. I mean, it's not always pleasant, but is it really that hard just to say no? I mean,
No, once you
you know,
get in the
no,
routine
it's
of
not.
it, I'll tell you, no, it okay, it is and it isn't. So it is hard. Like I'll tell you at work, so I was throughout this whole journey, I was selling cars. So like every Saturday we had lunch would come in, it'd be like Mexican or pizza or something. And I had to turn it down. There's always like donuts in the break room or something, somebody's like, hey, I'm going to go out to get lunch. Nobody brown bagged it there. I was the only one. I was
Yeah.
like that guy that brought in my lunch every day.
Mhm.
And my desk neighbor, he's like, hey man, I'm going to go get this. You want this? And I'm like, I got to see him eat. So it was like the biggest possible self-control because everybody is just like eating, this stuff in front of you. So
Mhm.
dude, I was proud. I was like, man, I'm actually turning it down where I wouldn't have thought twice about it before. But I'm like, I gotta stick with it. And I'm glad I did because I've set that thing that I needed to set where my mind has finally just become comfortable with it, where
Right.
I don't have to partake. Like I know that as you get older, your body is not as good as it used to be. So you need to treat it a little bit better. And it's set that good, um, I don't know, routine for me to just deny all these things that I once had just to keep healthy and, keep going on. I think it's big too. Like when you have kids, when you become an adult and you're like, oh man, like I'm a full adult now. I got kids,
Yeah.
I gotta think about the future. And I don't want to be that guy that's like having a heart attack at like 50 or something,
Yeah.
you know?
Right. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that I think that's a big deciding factor too. But I just think in general, it's really good. And if you can do this for 30 days and you could stick with it, I think you're going to see a lot of effects from it. I mean, you started one way 7 days, but then you kept it on
Right.
from there. Now, where are you at right now? Like, or what was the total weight loss that you had?
Total weight loss was 60 pounds.
60
When I
pounds.
started losing
Nice.
weight, I was about 240 pounds, which is way, way, way above what I should have been. I think my natural body weight is probably about 160, 170 pounds. When I graduated from boot camp back in January of 2002, I had no body fat on me. I was 145 pounds. That's probably still a little bit too skinny.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
yeah,
you're what,
I
5'10"?
5'10", yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my natural body weight is about 170 pounds. And I was about 240 pounds. And I started with a week long fast, and I was like, wow, I went 7 days without eating, just water and coffee. If I can do that, that really gave me a big boost of confidence, that if you can do that, you can continue to lose the weight. And so what I did was I started listening to Joe Rogan's podcast, and he had this guy named Mark Sisson. And I'd never heard of him before, but I listened to this podcast and I was like, wow, this guy really seems like he knows what he's talking about. He runs a self-help website, to give you helpful information about about what's true and what's not in the in the world of fitness and in the world of nutrition, because there's a lot of I guess, for lack of a better word, there's a lot of fuckery in the world of weight loss. There's people trying to sell you plans, telling you that you can eat what you like, just eat whatever you want, as long as you just portion I wasn't about all that. I wanted to do it the right way,
Yeah,
and I
I
knew
want
there
to
had
add
to
on
be an
that.
answer.
I want to add on that real
Hmm.
quick. That's another thing that I ran into as well, and I like your term fuckery, because it was like you would see somebody and they'd give you this bit of information. They're like, hey, this plan or something, if you start doing this, but it's always like it's always a sales funnel. Like, you know, I'll give you the bait, right? And you get really interested in it. And if you want to take it farther, then you got to get my full plan and you got to, pay this amount of money up
Right.
front, or you got to
Right.
subscribe or something. So it was always something like that. What I loved about intermittent fasting, and I think for anybody that's cost conscious, I think it's one of the cheapest things that you can do, because you're not spending a lot of money on food. It's pretty easy. And if you could throw in a little exercise with that, and you don't even need to go to a gym, there's a lot of exercises you could do at home. I mean, if you want the bare minimum, you can do just body weight exercises, or you can get some resistance bands. If you can do that with intermittent fasting, I mean, you're in it for really cheap. Because I think the weight loss industry is a big cash cow, and that's why everybody jumps in and wants to create
That's
these
right.
programs and stuff. But going back, what were you saying about it?
Saying about what specifically?
The fuckery.
Oh, well, when I say there's a lot of fuckery in the world of, weight loss and diet plans and stuff like that, what I'm referring to is, there's always people that's trying to sell you diet plans, like Jenny Craig, and where they count calories, and and there's a point system where certain foods are scored with points, and you can't go above 15 points a day, and it's just, all of that seemed like it was unnecessary to me. It just seemed like a contrivance. You know what I mean? It was just something that somebody created to sell you a diet plan, to say you can lose weight and you can eat what you want. And even I knew that wasn't true. I knew nothing about weight loss. I gained weight because, as you get older, your metabolism kind of naturally slows down. So when I was in my early 20s, I could kind of eat whatever and I wouldn't put on weight. But that changed for me as I got older. And I just knew, like, this is nonsense. I don't want to count calories. I don't want to follow a point system. It's just useless knowledge and it's a waste of my time. That's the way I saw it.
I
I
think
mean,
I think at the same time, for things like that too, it's with subscription based systems, they'd want to keep you in as long as possible, right? So it really
mhm,
can't be that magic bullet.
right,
You know, you're not going to see instant success, and you're not going to be in and out. Like, it would make more sense to keep you on pain as long as possible rather than help you. Kind of like the healthcare system. It's like it's kind of counterproductive for them to tell you how to live and eat right, because it's more money for you coming in with illnesses and stuff rather than healthy people
right.
coming in, right?
Right, right. Well, I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, these people are in the making more money business, just like everybody else. They want to sell you subscriptions. They want to sell you ideas along with those subscriptions, like the idea that you can eat whatever you want, okay, and you can lose weight and be fit and healthy. Now, there might be a little bit of truth to that, but I think by and large, that's really not true. And I think that doesn't work for a lot of people because, like, I think with the Nutrisystem plan, you can eat lasagna, and it's like, you can eat lasagna, but you can only have a little bit. You can only have, a small portion of it. And I was like, for me, that just doesn't work. That's just not who I am. I want to either,
I don't
when
eat
I
small
eat,
portions of
right?
lasagna.
No, that does not work for me. I don't want to eat small portions, and just be hungry the rest of the day. For me, what works for me is I can either have it or I can't. Because if I have something, I'm going to eat as much as I want to eat of it, or I'm not going to have it at all. And that's
All
just
or
the way that
nothing,
I am.
baby.
So all or nothing. Exactly. Portion control does not work for me. Now, today, I've developed a lot more discipline with the way that I eat. So if I want to have a little bit of lasagna at the end of the day, I will eat, for my first meal, I'll eat a lot. I'll eat kind of a big meal. I might maybe have a high fat snack, which goes along with my diet. So by the time I get to that lasagna, I'm not hungry. Now, I'm not really that hungry, so I will just want to have a little bit of it, but when I first started losing weight, that didn't work for me. So when I became a truck driver, I realized I got all the time in the world to find the people who have the right answers and hear what they have to say. And I'm listening to Joe Rogan's podcast. I love his podcast, by the way. He's had a lot of great diet and nutritional experts
Oh yeah.
on there that are giving you the straight dope about what it takes to lose weight and to be healthy and what your body needs. And I hear about this guy named Mark Sisson. And Mark Sisson, he talked for a couple hours about about the primal lifestyle. It's not a diet plan. It's a primal lifestyle. And I listened to this guy and I was like, well, he really seems like he knows what he's talking about. I'll check him out. So I go to his website, and he's got a lot of great advice about healthy fats, and and he breaks it down in a way that is simple and easy to understand, about healthy fats, about protein, about what's going on in your body when you drink that soda. I'll get into that a little bit more in a minute, but I find out that he wrote this book called The Primal Blueprint. It's called The Primal Blueprint by Mark Sisson. And he talked a lot about a lot of important things in that book. And he gave a lot of great advice. But the one big takeaway that I got from his book was, and this is what he said in his book, you will not lose weight on a diet that stimulates high or even moderately high levels of insulin. Weight loss does not work that way. If you want to lose weight, you have to lower insulin and you have to keep it low. And that's when the light bulb went on over my head. I was like, finally, somebody who's given it to me, in a way that's simple and easy to understand. He's like, look, you want to lose weight, lower insulin. That is number one on the list.
I'm glad
I
you said
said
that.
before.
I'm glad
Right,
you said that because
right.
we haven't talked about that yet, but that is key. And that's one of the reasons why I gave up soda and all
Hmm.
that. Sugar is just the worst.
It is the worst.
The worst for you. If you can cut
Yeah.
out sugar altogether, you're so much closer to the prize.
Yeah, you are. Yeah. And he talked about in his book about, if you want to lose weight, you got to lower insulin. Now, what happens when you drink a soda, okay, is that you take a huge insulin hit from that. It stimulates a lot of insulin because all of that sugar, it pretty much just goes into your bloodstream very rapidly, and your blood sugar goes way up. Okay, so what happens is the pancreas starts to crank out insulin to get rid of that sugar, because the body wants all that sugar out of the bloodstream, because excess blood sugar in the bloodstream, excess sugar in the bloodstream is highly toxic. It's very, very bad for you. Okay, so the body starts cranking out insulin because, like, we got to get rid of that stuff. And what happens oftentimes is the body overcompensates. It cranks out too much insulin, and that's when people get the sugar crash. It's because your body's cranking out this peptide hormone, trying to deal with what the body perceives to be a traumatic event. because when you drink that soda, your heart starts racing. You got really high blood sugar, and you feel good for a little while, but then you have that crash and you start to feel sluggish, and you start to feel foggy.
Sugar high.
Right. You get that sugar high, but you always, always, always crash.
Mhm.
And so that's what Mark Sisson talked about in this book, The Primal Blueprint. You will not lose weight on a diet that stimulates high or even moderately high levels of insulin. You have to lower insulin if you want to lose weight. And then he talked about doing that. So how do you lower insulin? You have to eliminate refined carbohydrates. You have to get rid of crackers. Okay. You have to get rid of rice. I mean, rice is really a lesser offensive carbohydrate, because I don't think you take such a huge hit from it, especially brown rice, because it's more of a slow burning carb.
Yeah, but
You know,
in small
yeah,
amounts, it's good. You just don't want to overdo it
you don't want to overdo it with that, right?
because it
You
will
don't want to
convert.
overdo it.
It will convert over.
Right. And he talked about how rice kind of has this densely folded protein that we really haven't had time to adapt to. There's better sources of protein like meat. It's much better source protein than rice is, but you don't need rice to be healthy. And you got to remember, I'm a truck driver at this point. I'm sitting for long, long hours, and whatever I don't need is like, just forget about it for a while. So how do you lower insulin? Is by limiting carbohydrates. And I put myself on a diet where I was eating probably about 15 grams of carbs a day, which is the bare minimum. If you're an active person, if you're up and moving around, I say between 50 grams and 100 grams. That's what Mark Sisson said to do. Is 50 to 100 grams that's the weight loss zone. And 0 to 50 grams a day is that's the accelerated weight loss zone. So that's where I try to stay. Vegetables don't really count as a carbohydrate. I mean, they do, but all of that dietary fiber kind of helps that stuff go through you. And second of all, you're not taking a huge insulin hit. You can eat vegetables which have carbs in them, okay, but you're also lowering insulin when you do that. Vegetables, they just kind of tend to drip. And you could think of it that way.
That's
As
good.
the insulin hit would be like a leaky faucet, rather than, when you drink a soda, you're turning on the faucet. When you drink a soda, when you're eating a lot of refined carbs and you're taking a huge insulin hit, okay, that insulin tells the body that we already have enough energy. We're getting enough dietary energy. So it signals the body to hold on to the fat, to not release it for energy. So it's counterproductive to what I'm trying to do. So I just always try to remember that you got to lower insulin. So how do you do that? How do you lower insulin? Well, you eliminate and you limit carbohydrates, and you eliminate refined carbs, starting with sugar. Okay, starting with soda. I don't ever drink soda anymore. I always drink water, coffee, unsweetened tea, tea bags and things like that,
The
which are
occasional
very, very
beer.
right. The occasional beer, right? But again, it's occasional. It's not every day. And you got to be really careful with sugar, because that stuff is in hot sauce, it's
Everything,
in
man.
salad dressing, it's in
Everything.
barbecue sauce. And the way that I started to look at food, because now I'm following this primal lifestyle that I read about in Mark Sisson's book, The Primal Blueprint.
Wait,
I look at
is that
barbecue sauce.
the same as paleo?
It's basically the same thing. The main difference between the primal lifestyle and paleo is that dairy is not paleo. Okay, things like cottage cheese and milk, you can't have that stuff if you're going to follow paleo. Now, with primal lifestyle, you said you can eat that stuff, as long as it doesn't cause you any problems. If you're lactose intolerant, you should avoid it. But I don't have any problems with dairy. I'm not lactose intolerant or anything like that. There really aren't any foods that really bother me.
And what these
So,
are diets that were, I think, what is it? Paleo is before like the agricultural boom. So there's certain things like
yeah.
we take
Essentially, yeah.
like
Yeah,
nuts. You're not
basically
supposed
that's
to have
what it
nuts
is.
or grains. Is that what it
Well,
is?
you
It's
could.
like,
Well, it's grains. You can have nuts. You just don't want to eat nuts like almonds as a meal. You should be having them as a snack.
okay.
You know, because you got to remember that primal man before the agricultural revolution, he couldn't go to the store and buy a giant bag of almonds and sit there and just munch on them until he got sick. Like he had to. The primal man would just wake up in the morning and he didn't have food sitting right there. He had to get up and he had to go look for it,
Yep.
and right.
Mhm.
And he probably drank a little water along the way. He'd go down to the stream, drink a little water, and then he would go forage for food. And he might go, be able to pick a handful of almonds, or pick a handful of berries or something like that. So he was just eating a little bit. Now, almonds are very high in something called phytic acid. Phytic acid is the main problem with that is that it interferes with nutrient absorption, okay, in the small intestine, because that's where nutrients get absorbed into the body, is in the small intestine. That's where metabolism of omega-3 fatty acids happens. That's where metabolism of vitamin D3 happens. It's all going on and being absorbed in the small intestine. And phytic acid just blocks it. It totally interferes with your body's ability to absorb nutrients. So you don't want to be eating that stuff as a meal, just as a snack, but they're fine. They're fine. There's nothing wrong with nuts. There's nothing wrong with almonds, cashews, pistachios, because they're all high in saturated fat. And when you're following the primal lifestyle, that's what you want to focus on. You want to focus on eating fat because um, fat has little, if any, effect on insulin really at all. So it's not stimulating insulin, and fat keeps you feeling fuller for longer.
I think that's why the
So,
carnivore diet
yep. Hmm.
is so popular is because you feel full with it. So you're not eating as much and
Right,
it's fat
right.
based. It's tasty.
Protein also has that same effect. Meat has a lot of protein in it. Any meat, pork, beef, chicken, all
Mhm.
of that stuff, it's a complete protein. So, in other words, a complete protein is something that has all of the amino acids. I think there's like 22 of them. There's some that are essential, meaning that they have to come from your diet, your body. You have to eat it, and your body can't make them. And then there are some amino acids that can be manufactured in the body. Um, that's why omega-3 fatty acids are called essential fatty acids, because they have to come from your diet. You can't make them. But when you're following, and this really is what the essence of keto, going primal, going paleo, is trying to focus on eating more fat. Okay, because again, fat has little, if any, effect on insulin, and fat really keeps you feeling fuller for longer. It signals the body that you're full. So when you're eating more fat, you tend to go longer in between meals because you don't feel hungry. And also, you kind of tend to skip a meal here and there when you eat a lot of fat. You just don't feel hungry, and I think a fat-based metabolism really is our natural state of metabolism. There's two states of metabolism. There's sugar burning. Your body can get energy from burning, sugars, and because all carbohydrates, whether you have Skittles or vegetables, or whether you have junk food or candy or sugar, crackers, all of that stuff eventually turns into glucose. And while the body does prefer to burn glucose for energy, it's really not healthy. It's really not. Our natural state of metabolism
Yeah.
is a fat-based metabolism. So
Well, I mean,
eating,
we could see by the spike in diabetes,
yeah,
countrywide. I know we're as a country a whole in America,
yep,
that's a big
hmm,
thing here.
that's right. That's
I
a
don't know the
huge thing.
statistics worldwide, but it's I think one of the big things is with the corn industry is there's just corn byproducts and everything, so there's a
Right,
lot of corn
right.
syrup and just so high in sugar, and it's cheaper because it's subsidized. So we're as a whole just consuming all this stuff, and it's leading to all these health conditions and everything. So
That's right.
I think what you're saying, it really makes a lot of sense. Like if you can go back to the diet that we were meant to have, it makes a lot of sense.
That's right.
I think you got some really good recommendations there. So who you said Mark Sisson?
Mark Sisson, Sisson. Okay, Mark
Okay.
Sisson. He's been on Joe Rogan's podcast at least once.
So you can find him
You
on
know,
there.
right? You can
Probably
find him
YouTube.
on there.
Does he
He's
have any
probably
YouTube
on
videos?
YouTube. He
Okay.
does. He's got some YouTube videos. He also runs a website called marksdailyapple.com. And you can look up just about anything you want to know is on that website. He's got a lot of great advice. It's a wonderful, wonderful resource. And it's definitely helped me just going to his website, reading about different foods and what's wrong with sugar, because learning about sugar and learning about why this stuff is bad for you has made me not want to eat it.
Yeah.
It's kind of helped me develop x-ray vision. Like when I walk into a truck stop and I see a bag of chips or I see a bag of cookies, I got that x-ray vision. I just see dough and empty calories and sugar. It looks toxic. It's like, to me,
Be gone.
now it's like, right, it's like a poisonous plant. That's what I see when I see that junk food. It's like you got these poisonous plants everywhere. Don't eat that. And
Mhm.
the other benefit of going on a high fat diet is that your body begins to develop those enzymes that you need to burn fat for energy, so that your body's going to naturally burn fat. So, and that's why an Atkins diet, which is very similar to the primal lifestyle, an Atkins diet is a high fat, moderate protein. You do have to be careful with protein because the body, the liver actually will break down excess protein into sugars. It's called gluconeogenesis, where the liver actually knows how to do that. It's like, well, we got more protein than what we need. Let's break it down into amino acids, and then we're going to break it down into sugar, and that's counterproductive to weight loss. So you got to watch it with protein. So again, fat has little, if any, effect on insulin, and that's the bottom line when it comes to weight loss, is you have to lower insulin. And going back to diabetes, there's two types of diabetes. There's type 1 and type 2, and there are 100 million Americans
Yeah, type
that
2 is
are
the most
either
prevalent.
type 2. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's the one that I think
You can
people get
prevent.
from yeah, it is preventable. A lot of this stuff is diet related. 100 million
Mhm.
Americans are either diabetic or pre-diabetic. And the
Mhm.
leading cause of death of Americans is cardiovascular disease, which includes metabolic syndrome, COPD, you know, um, and I think number 2 is cancer. And these are all things that are diet related. 7 out of 10 Americans are obese. I'm certainly
I
not.
was part of that demographic, man.
Well, I certainly
I
don't want to
was
fat
in
shame
the
anybody.
yeah, but it really hits home when, because you think of the term obese, you're like, yeah, obese. But when you look at the scale, or I mean, not the scale, but the chart, and you see where, there's like normal, there's like, fit, there's like obese, and then there's morbidly obese, and you were at morbidly obese. Like on my app, it had that little graph line, right? And
Right,
for my weight, I was in morbidly obese. Like, and then you went down to obese, then you got down to normal, and then you got down to athletic. And it was big wins every time. But I'm like,
right.
you probably don't consider yourself morbidly, but by a healthy guideline, you might be. And that's
That's
something
right.
to consider, is that there can be a change. It's hard, but you can do it.
Well, it is hard, but it's just like anything else in life. Is that anything that's worth doing is going to be difficult?
Yeah.
It's like on the flip side of that coin, easy come, easy go.
Mhm.
Anything that's going to be anything that's worth doing is going to be difficult, and I knew that when I got into when I started my weight loss journey. I knew there's going to be some room for some cheat food. I don't have to eat an impeccable diet all the time, because eating a little bit of lasagna, that makes you happy. So there is value in that. It's you got to be happy, you got to enjoy the food you like once in a while, but there's a time and a place for everything. And I knew
think
that.
so.
And if you want to lose weight, you're going to have to put the work in. It's like what David Goggins said in his book, Can't Hurt Me. If you got goals, and you don't want to do what, you find yourself lacking motivation, and you don't want to do what it takes to meet your goals, well, my only advice to you is you just going to have to start doing the things that you don't want to do. And I knew that was going to be part of it, is eliminating things like soda and eliminating refined carbohydrates, because that's how you lower insulin. Get rid of the chips, get rid of the candy, get rid of the soda, and even get rid of diet soda. Because I'll tell you something about diet soda, that while it has no sugar in it, diet soda promotes the growth of sugar receiving bacteria in your stomach. Okay, so while you might be thin and while it might not have any calories in it, okay, you have the gut biome and the bacteria profile of an obese person. So
That's interesting.
take that for what it's worth. Yeah. I heard Rhonda Patrick say that when she would, that comes from Rhonda Patrick, when she was on Joe Rogan's podcast, is you are what you eat. If you eat fruits and vegetables, you're going to have bacteria in your stomach that are designed, to receive all of the fiber from the fruits and the vegetables and the healthy foods that you're eating. And conversely, if you're eating a lot of carbs and you're drinking a lot of soda, diet soda, refined carbs and things like that, you're going to have that bacterial profile in your stomach. You're going to have a myriad of bacteria that are designed to receive sugar. And
bacteria is a whole nother beast of a topic altogether.
Right. You got a lot of them in your stomach. You got a lot of them. And
Mike, we're pushing up on the end here, but I think we've covered a lot of really good ground.
Mm-hmm.
We got some really good recommendations here. You said Mark Sisson. Obviously,
it's a great place to start.
Yeah, Jim Stoppani is awesome. He's a really, I've watched a lot of his videos, really cool guy, super shredded. So don't think of, intermittent fasting as you can't build muscle, because you definitely can. I think that's a big misconception, that it's going to eat your muscle, which if you look at him, that's just not true. Rhonda Patrick for the, all the
Dr. Rhonda Patrick.
Yep, Dr. Rhonda Patrick. I think Jim Stoppani's a doctor too, right?
He is.
Yeah.
I think he has a doctorate in exercise physiology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, look into, paleo, keto, all that kind of stuff. I think that's what people need to do. Is there's not like a catch-all for everybody. You have to find what works for you. And both of us, we found an idea and we approached it in different ways and made it work for us.
Right. We personalized our approach.
We did. We really did, down to the food that we ate and how we did it. And we created a brand new lifestyle. So I think anybody can, listening to our stories here, find the success in there. And it wasn't this template that we followed to the T. We struck out on our own and made it for us, made it the way that worked for us with our lifestyles and our eating habits and what really made sense for us. So, yeah, I think I'm just so happy that you did this and that I could learn from you. And then I started my own journey, because it really changed my life. So
it's great, man.
If anything that we talked about today can help people, even helping one person to kind of go down that journey and create a better lifestyle, that's great. We're not doctors. Far more about stuff than I do. So I'm glad that I talked to you about this and that everybody can hear about it. Before we go though, so we had some good recommendations in there, but let's get away from all this.
Okay.
Give me some, what's getting your motor running right now? Like, what's something that you're really into?
Something I'm really into right now is this, it's more than a company. It's like a movement. It's called On It. And on it, it's Joe Rogan's company. He started it with another guy named Aubrey Marcus. He has a podcast too. And what they're about is they're about total human optimization, anything that supports the optimization picture. They're about it, and they'll add it to their product line. They have some of the best supplements, and nootropics. If you know what those are, they enhance focus and concentration, which is a very powerful tool in my arsenal as a truck driver. Is optimizing my levels of focus and concentration. They've got great supplements. They've got great workout programs. They have great motivation. They've got all kinds of videos. They got workout equipment. And that's why they're called On It. We got everything you need. Now get on it.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right. So
I like them too.
And I know you dropped it earlier, the George Foreman grill, because I recommended to you the Blackstone 17-inch that I'm just in love with. And I thought it would be perfect for you in the truck because it has those like little, 1-pounder disposable propane tanks. But actually, I didn't even think about it. And you're like, yeah, it's probably not a good idea to keep propane in the truck.
Yeah.
That George Foreman grill, which you love,
right?
Which
it's
is
electric,
awesome. Electric, and I think if any other people on the road in for the long haul are listening to that, that's probably something really good because that was your whole thing. Like, I can't have hot food, especially with the pandemic going on. It was getting harder to get food and stuff,
right?
And you didn't want to eat cold food, and now you're back to it, which is great.
Yeah, and I realized that having a hot meal is what will keep me on my diet. Like, I got a refrigerator in my truck and I'll keep food in that. And I found myself going inside and spending $20 on a steak when I have food in the truck. And I'm like, well, what am I doing? I got food in the truck. And then I realized that's what it was, is because it's all cold. I wanted to go inside and have a hot meal. So I realized if I bought a Foreman grill or something to cook with, then I would be eating the food I got in the truck.
Now, I haven't used a Foreman grill in a long time, but on the box that you get in, is there a new warning on there not to burn your foot on it in the morning?
I didn't even read the box. Yeah, right, Michael Scott. Well, it's not really good for cooking bacon. I don't know why Michael Scott cooked
because he doesn't have a
bacon on a Foreman grill. Well, I don't know why he used a Foreman grill. He should be using a griddle for that. But no, there isn't the Michael Scott warning, I think it just tells you not to cook with it on the floor, just put it on the counter. And
we need to get that on the box.
That was funny. He didn't just burn his foot on that grill. The grill closed on his foot.
Well, let's leave it at that. Mike, thank you so much for joining me today. And
it's been a pleasure.
It's been wonderful. And I can't wait to have you back.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening today. If you want more Can't Recommend Enough, you can check us out at Twitter at Always Recommend, or on Instagram or Facebook at Can't Recommend Enough. Please feel free, follow us there, like stuff, go there for more recommendations, more cool stuff. Always be posting stuff and recommending all types of things. So check it out, follow, and if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to subscribe and like the videos if you're listening to it on there. Also, subscribe to the podcast on the player that you're listening to, and that way you can get updated whenever a new show comes out. But you also, in the social media, get updates when new episodes drop as well. So check it out. Thank you so much. Truly appreciate it. Have a great day.